They laughed at her plain clothes and quiet ways, until the moment her billionaire husband revealed her true identity and made them pay. Before we go any further, comment where in the world you are watching from, and make sure to subscribe because tomorrow's story is one you don't want to miss. Sarah Matthews walked through the glass doors of Vertex Enterprises, her simple beige dress and minimal makeup a stark contrast to the fashionable crowd that populated the marketing department. At 32, Sarah had worked at Vertex for 5 years, quietly climbing the ranks through hard work and dedication. She kept her head down, did her job exceptionally well, and avoided office politics. What her colleagues didn't know was that Sarah's simple appearance and modest demeanor were choices, not limitations. The marketing floor buzzed with activity as Sarah made her way to her desk. She nodded politely at those who acknowledged her, ignoring the whispers that sometimes followed. The corner cubicle had become her sanctuary, adorned only with a small plant and a framed photo facing her chair. Sarah logged into her computer and immediately began working on the Johnson campaign, the biggest project the company had secured this quarter. Cassandra Wells strode into the office an hour later, turning heads with her designer outfit and perfectly styled hair. As marketing director, Cassandra commanded attention wherever she went. She was brilliant at her job but ruthless with her subordinates, particularly Sarah, whom she seemed to target with special disdain. "Morning, everyone," Cassandra announced, her voice carrying across the floor. "Big day today. The Johnson presentation is at 2 p.m. and everything needs to be perfect." Her eyes landed on Sarah. "Sarah, I need those analytics reports on my desk before lunch." Sarah nodded, already having completed the reports the previous evening. "They're ready now, Cassandra. I'll bring them over." Cassandra's smile tightened. "That's efficient of you. Let's hope the quality matches the speed." The conference room was packed with executives and team members for the Johnson presentation. Sarah sat quietly at the back, her contribution to the project substantial, but uncredited. Cassandra stood at the front, commanding the room with practiced charm and confidence. "As you can see from these analytics," Cassandra explained, gesturing to slides that Sarah had prepared, "our strategy will increase market penetration by 15% in the first quarter alone." The executives nodded approvingly. CEO Marcus Donovan leaned forward with interest. "These projections are impressive, Cassandra. Very thorough." Cassandra beamed. "Thank you, Marcus. My team worked hard, but I personally oversaw every detail." From the back of the room, Sarah noticed an error on one of the slides, a misplaced decimal that significantly altered the financial projections. She quietly raised her hand. "Excuse me," Sarah said softly. "I believe there's a small error on slide 15. The room fell silent. Cassandra's smile froze. "I'm sorry?" Cassandra's voice was sharp. "The conversion rate calculation," Sarah explained. "The decimal place is off. It should be 2.3%, not 23%. Marcus frowned and looked more closely at the figures. "She's right. This changes the entire projection." Cassandra's face flushed red. "I'll correct that immediately. A simple typo that slipped through despite my thorough review." Sarah shrunk back into her seat as Cassandra's glare promised retribution. After the meeting, Sarah hurried back to her desk, hoping to avoid confrontation. But Cassandra followed, her heels clicking aggressively on the tile floor. Several colleagues looked up, sensing drama. "What the hell was that?" Cassandra demanded, towering over Sarah's desk. "I'm sorry, Cassandra," Sarah replied calmly. "I thought it was important to correct the error before decisions were made based on it." Cassandra leaned closer. "You made me look incompetent in front of the entire executive team. You could have pointed it out privately." "I tried to be discreet," Sarah explained. "I wasn't trying to embarrass you." "You think you're so smart, don't you?" Cassandra's voice rose, drawing more attention. "Little Miss Perfect, always following the rules, always doing everything right." Sarah remained composed. "I was just doing my job. The situation escalated in the break room later that afternoon. Sarah was refilling her water bottle when Cassandra entered with her inner circle, Victoria, James, and Zoe, all watching with anticipation. "There she is," Cassandra announced. "The company savior." Sarah turned to leave, but Cassandra blocked her path. "Where are you going? Too good to share a break room with us common folk?" Cassandra mocked. "I have work to finish," Sarah replied, trying to move past. Cassandra picked up a can of Coca-Cola from the counter. "You know what your problem is, Sarah? You think you're better than everyone because you do your little job so perfectly. But look at you. Plain clothes, no makeup, no personality. Tell me, does anyone even know you exist outside this office?" The others snickered. Sarah remained silent, which only inflamed Cassandra further. "What's wrong? Nothing to say?" Cassandra pressed. "Maybe that's why no man wants you. You're just forgettable." Sarah finally spoke. "My personal life is none of your business, Cassandra." "Oh, touched a nerve, did I?" Cassandra smirked. "Let me guess. No boyfriend, no social life, probably live alone with a cat or two." Sarah attempted to leave again. "Excuse me? Don't you walk away when I'm talking to you." Cassandra's face contorted with rage. In a moment that shocked everyone present, Cassandra hurled the Coca-Cola can directly at Sarah. It struck her in the face, exploding on impact. The sticky brown liquid drenched Sarah's hair, face, and clothes. The room fell into stunned silence. Sarah stood frozen, cola dripping down her face, the pain from the impact bringing tears to her eyes. The quiet dignity she maintained only seemed to infuriate Cassandra more. "Maybe now you'll be a little less perfect," Cassandra sneered. The commotion drew a crowd. Employees gathered at the break room entrance, whispering and staring. Sarah wiped cola from her eyes, her white blouse stained brown, her face burning with humiliation. "What is going on here?" A deep, authoritative voice cut through the murmurs. The crowd parted to reveal a tall, imposing figure in an impeccable suit. Alexander Matthews, billionaire CEO of Matthews Global Industries, stood in the doorway, his expression darkening as he took in the scene before him. "Alex?" Sarah whispered. Cassandra's eyes widened. "Mr. Matthews, we weren't expecting you today." Alexander moved to Sarah's side, removing his jacket and placing it gently around her shoulders. "Are you all right?" he asked softly. Sarah nodded, though her trembling hands betrayed her. Alexander turned to face the room, his expression thunderous. "Would someone care to explain why my wife is standing here covered in soda?" The revelation hit the room like a bomb. Gasps and whispered exclamations rippled through the crowd. Cassandra turned pale. "Your wife?" Cassandra stammered. "Yes, my wife," Alexander confirmed coldly. "Sarah Matthews, who chose to work here under her maiden name because she wanted to succeed on her own merits, not because of who she married." Alexander guided Sarah to a chair, his touch gentle, but his eyes blazing with controlled fury. He turned to address the gathered employees. "For those who don't know me, I'm Alexander Matthews. My company acquired Vertex Enterprises 3 months ago. I've been reviewing operations from afar, but today I decided to surprise my wife for lunch and see her workplace in person." His gaze locked onto Cassandra, who seemed to physically shrink under his scrutiny. "Sarah never told me she was facing workplace bullying. She wanted to handle her professional life independently. I respected that choice, perhaps to a fault." Alexander pulled out his phone and made a call. "Daniel, I need HR and legal in the Vertex break room immediately." He ended the call and returned his attention to Cassandra. "Ms. Wells, is it? Would you care to explain why you assaulted an employee?" Cassandra stuttered. "There was a misunderstanding, a joke that went too far." "A joke?" Alexander's voice was dangerously quiet. "You find workplace assault amusing?" Marcus Donovan pushed through the crowd. "Mr. Matthews, I had no idea." Clearly, Alexander cut him off. You've fostered a toxic environment where behavior like this is apparently acceptable. Sarah stood up, still dripping with cola. Alex, please, you don't have to. No, Sarah, not this time. Alexander turned to address the room again. I've been reviewing company performance for weeks. Sarah's department consistently outperforms all others, largely due to work that she completes, but others take credit for. Within the hour, the Vertex offices were transformed. HR representatives conducted interviews with witnesses while security escorted Cassandra and her inner circle from the building. Alexander sat in Marcus Donovan's office, signing termination paperwork. Sarah emerged from the executive bathroom, having cleaned up as best she could. Alexander had sent an assistant to purchase new clothes for her. She looked composed but still shaken. I've removed Cassandra and her enablers, Alexander informed her. Marcus has agreed to resign effective immediately. Sarah sighed. This isn't what I wanted, Alex. I was handling it. By allowing yourself to be bullied and assaulted? Alexander's voice softened. You wanted independence, and I respect that. But no one treats my wife or any employee that way. Sarah looked around at the subdued office. What happens now? Now, Alexander said, Vertex gets restructured, and you, if you want it, will lead the marketing department. Mane, not because you're my wife, but because you're the most qualified person for the job. And if I don't want it? Sarah asked. Alexander smiled. Then you walk away, we go home, and you decide what you want to do next. Whatever you choose, I support. You. Sarah considered this. I did love the work, just not the environment. Then change the environment, Alexander suggested. Create the workplace you always wanted. 3 months had passed since the infamous cola incident, and Vertex Enterprises was a company transformed. The sleek glass and steel office building remained the same on the outside, but within its walls, a revolution had taken place. Under Sarah Matthews' leadership as the new marketing director, the corporate culture had undergone a radical metamorphosis. The cutthroat atmosphere that had once dominated the floor had been replaced by something many employees had never experienced in their professional lives: genuine respect and collaboration. Sarah's corner office, once occupied by Cassandra Wells, had been redesigned to reflect her personal philosophy. Gone were the ostentatious furnishings and intimidating layout designed to make visitors feel small. Instead, the space featured comfortable seating arranged in a way that invited conversation rather than confrontation. The walls displayed not awards or self-aggrandizing photographs, but framed quotes about teamwork and inspiration. A large window overlooked the city, flooding the room with natural light that seemed symbolic of the transparency Sarah had brought to the department. The morning of her 3-month anniversary as director began like any other. Sarah arrived at 7:30 a.m., earlier than necessary, but a habit she maintained from her days of trying to avoid Cassandra's morning scrutiny. The difference now was that she no longer entered with trepidation, but with purpose. She wore a simple yet elegant navy dress, maintaining her preference for understated professionalism while embracing a quiet confidence that had blossomed in her new role. Her wedding ring, previously kept in her purse during office hours, now rested proudly on her finger. Sarah settled at her desk and reviewed the quarterly projections her team had submitted the previous evening. Under her guidance, the marketing department had secured 3 major clients that Cassandra had been unable to land, including the prestigious North Star Foundation account that competitors had been chasing for years. Sarah smiled as she analyzed the figures. The projections were ambitious but achievable, a balance she had worked hard to instill in her team. The employee roster had changed significantly. Following the confrontation, Alexander had authorized a complete departmental audit. The investigation revealed a web of favoritism, credit theft, and intimidation tactics that had permeated the marketing division. Cassandra's inner circle had been the first to go, but they weren't the last. Several mid-level managers who had enabled or participated in the toxic culture were also dismissed. Some left voluntarily when they realized the new leadership would not tolerate their behavior. In their place, Sarah had personally overseen the hiring of 16 new team members. Some came from competitor agencies, attracted by rumors of Vertex's cultural revolution. Others were promising recent graduates or overlooked talents from within Vertex itself, people like Melissa from accounting, whose marketing degree and innovative ideas had been disregarded by previous management. Sarah had even reinstated 2 former employees who had resigned under Cassandra's leadership, unable to withstand the bullying. The break room where Sarah had faced her greatest humiliation had been completely renovated. What was once a sterile space with harsh lighting and uncomfortable furniture was now an inviting lounge designed to foster community. Comfortable seating arrangements encouraged conversation, while a small library of business books and magazines provided inspiration. A coffee bar offering quality beverages had replaced the vending machines that once dispensed the infamous cola cans. Most significantly, a discreet plaque near the entrance read, "Respect is not earned. It is the baseline. Expectation." The message was simple but powerful, a daily reminder of the company's new foundation. At 9 a.m., Sarah held her weekly team meeting in the central conference room. Unlike Cassandra, who had used these gatherings to criticize and intimidate, Sarah had transformed them into collaborative sessions where ideas flowed freely and recognition was given generously. Today's agenda focused on an upcoming pitch for a major pharmaceutical client, a company that had specifically requested Sarah's involvement after hearing about her innovative approach to healthcare marketing. "Good morning, everyone," Sarah began, smiling at the 20 faces around the table. Some she recognized from her days as a team member, though their expressions were markedly different now, relaxed, engaged, even enthusiastic. Before we dive into the Meridian Pharmaceuticals pitch, I want to acknowledge the exceptional work on the Johnson follow-up campaign. The client called personally yesterday to express their satisfaction. She specifically highlighted contributions from team members who might have been overlooked in the past. Juan's insightful market analysis, Priya's creative direction, and Ethan's meticulous data visualization. Under the previous regime, these accomplishments would have been claimed by management or credited to favorites. Sarah had instituted a transparent attribution system where every contributor was acknowledged, regardless of their position in the hierarchy. The meeting proceeded, with a level of energy and collaboration that would have been unimaginable 3 months ago. Team members built upon each other's ideas without fear of having their contributions stolen. Junior staff spoke up without hesitation, knowing their input would be valued rather than dismissed. Even criticism was delivered constructively, focused on improving the work rather than tearing down the individual. Throughout the morning, Sarah periodically checked her calendar for her lunch appointment. Alexander had texted earlier confirming their plans. Their lunch dates had become a monthly tradition, a small but meaningful way to maintain their connection despite their busy schedules. Sarah had been adamant about keeping professional boundaries. She never used her position as the owner's wife to gain advantages, and Alexander respected her authority in running her department. The employees quickly learned that Sarah had earned her position through merit, not marriage. At 11:30 a.m., Sarah returned to her office to review applications for Cassandra's former position, which had been restructured as Associate Director of Client Relations. The position had remained vacant during the transition period as Sarah assessed the department's needs. Now, with the team stabilized and new processes in place, it was time to complete the leadership structure. The stack of resumes before her represented diverse backgrounds and experiences. Sarah had instructed HR to prioritize candidates who demonstrated not just marketing expertise but also emotional intelligence and collaborative leadership styles. The final 5 candidates included 3 external applicants with impressive portfolios and 2 internal candidates who had shown exceptional growth under Sarah's mentorship. As she reviewed the final application, belonging to Alicia Chen, a promising Team leader from within Vertex, Sarah reflected on her own journey. Just 3 months ago, she had been huddled in a bathroom stall, cola dripping from her hair, fighting back tears of humiliation. The memory still stung, but it no longer had power over her. From that moment of degradation had come strength she hadn't known she possessed. A knock at her door interrupted her thoughts. Her assistant, Thomas, peeked in. "Mrs. Matthews? Your husband is here to see you." Sarah had insisted her assistant use her married name, partly as a personal choice and partly as a silent acknowledgement of the truth that had changed everything. Alexander entered, impeccably dressed in a charcoal suit, carrying a bouquet of Sarah's favorite flowers, simple white lilies rather than ostentatious roses. At 55, he carried himself with the confidence of a man who had built an empire, yet his eyes softened visibly when they fell on Sarah. "Ready for lunch, Director Matthews?" he asked, with a smile that was reserved solely for her. Sarah returned, the smile rising to greet him. "I think I can spare an hour for the CEO." The playful formality was their private joke, a way of acknowledging their professional roles while cherishing their personal connection. Alexander handed her the flowers. "Happy 3-month anniversary. The board is impressed, by the way. Quarterly. Results are up 17%, and employee satisfaction scores have never been higher." "It's not just me," Sarah replied, arranging the lilies in a vase she kept for these occasions. "It's what happens when people are allowed to do their best work without fear." As they walked through the marketing department toward the elevator, Sarah noticed how employees responded to their presence. There were respectful nods and genuine smiles, but gone were the performative displays of admiration that Cassandra had demanded. More importantly, there were no whispers, no mocking glances. In 3 short months, Sarah had proven herself not just as the boss's wife, but as a leader in her own right. The elevator doors opened, and they stepped inside. Alexander pressed the button for the lobby where his driver would be waiting to take them to their favorite lunch spot. "Any regrets?" Alexander asked as the doors closed, creating a momentary private space. It was a question he asked occasionally, knowing how much Sarah had valued her independence and anonymity. Sarah thought about the question seriously. The humiliation had been real, the pain genuine. For years, she had insisted on making her own way, refusing Alexander's help even when the workplace became toxic. She had wanted to succeed or fail on her own merits, to know that whatever she achieved was earned rather than given. The compromise had been using her maiden name and keeping their marriage private, choices that had ultimately led to that breaking point. "No regrets," she answered honestly. "Sometimes you need to be knocked down to discover how strong you really are." She intertwined her fingers with his. "And sometimes you need to accept help to create something better than you could alone." The elevator doors opened onto the lobby, revealing the bright spring day outside. Sarah Matthews stepped forward with her husband, leaving behind an office, forever changed by a simple woman who turned out to be anything but simple. Ahead lay lunch, and afterward, a return to the workplace she had helped transform, a testament to the power of dignity, respect, and the quiet strength that comes from knowing exactly who you are.